Good morning, good Friday morning. It's December the 4th. It's my favorite month of the year. It's the year when we celebrate Christmas. We are still doing Carnival, but we're doing it differently. Virtual Carnival. Never heard of it. We are going to do that. I'm really enjoying those tents, Calypso tents, that's coming on virtually. It's amazing how creative we are as humans. Not only that, as Kittitians, I never thought that we had such talent here in St. Kitts and Nevis, but it's an explosion of talents and creativity. It's an amazing situation that we would have. COVID has done its bad, but it has brought out some of the best in a lot of us. I've seen people have made that. It's such an easy transition. People have adapted to the situation, and they have done things that you never thought would have happened here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And not that I'm grateful for COVID, but I'm grateful for the fact that we are such adaptable people and we can make such great strides. I'm struggling. Strides because I'll tell you why I'm struggling this morning. I must say it because I'm not focused because I never thought I would have said that. I forgot my phone at home, but it's the phone that is absolutely necessary for today. And it's the only time, I've always left it home, but it never really bothered me. It's one of the only time that I've left my phone at home, and it has really thrown me off. Really, I can't seem to focus, but it's going to happen again. I just have to bring myself back to my center, take a deep breath and exhale, and then I'm ready again. My name is Sandra Quilliatit, and it's about that time. It's about the time that Your Views, which is a program that is aired on Win FM 98.9 every Friday morning, and you would hear the joy in my life because I'm a happy person today. Every Friday morning around this time, we share Your Views. Your Views is a program where you can call in and you can make any suggestions that you want, any opinion that you have, you can share. You can criticize if you want to, because that's the nature of the program. But one of the things that we ask that is whenever you're doing such, you may be positive in doing it. We always try to encourage that positive energy because it's your criticism should really enact changes. Your opinion should help people to look in other directions. And your views should always be recognized as your views and should be respected as your views, and see whether or not your views can be a valuable contribution to areas that needs attention. And that is one of the reasons why we have the program. We normally bring people who are very informed because information is key if you want to make certain decisions. So therefore, what I normally do, I look for people who can make a difference to situations that we are facing. And sometimes, just that little bit of information can make such a huge difference in one's life. So that is in one's life. So that is one of the reasons why we bring people here on this program. We make sure that that's the nature of the program, where we can encourage people to share, impart their knowledge so that others can be well equipped with the way forward, and with information that would take them, that would propel them in the way forward. Like I said before, my name is Sandra Quilliatit, and it's always a pleasure to be here with you. I've had some very, very successful programs, and I want to thank those people who would have come in and would have shared their views and given information that I think was of paramount interest to people, all listening public, and we always try to make sure that you're kept informed. And so that is one of the reasons why I make sure that I show up for this program every Friday morning. It's always a pleasure, and I always look forward to it. This morning, I am going to talk to a guest. Unfortunately, she's not going to be here. I've missed out on an opportunity because I really wanted to meet her. I am a woman, and I've always looked forward to women who would assert themselves, who are very assertive. People look at our assertiveness as aggression, but that is not so. I always look forward for women who can put themselves in positions that a lot of the times people don't know that people don't know, would not expect them to be in. But at the end of the day, we should all be very, very supportive of anybody, whether it's man, woman, child, because we've seen some children who are really bringing their talents to the forefront, and you can't seem to understand. No, it's not. We can't seem to understand. Let's go for a break because I'm trying to get a number and it's posing some problem. Let's take a 2 minutes break and I'll get back to you right after because I'm mumbling, and it's really not me. Let's take a break and I'll come right back. Big up every
competition. When me fly go to England, Europe, me have fun can done. But everybody know, ain't no place like home. Me no know about you, but me love think it's bad. Me no know what them a talk about. When them say think it's mad. When everywhere in the world have problems, everywhere need God. Tell them easy no man. From you love think it's bad. Me no know about you, but me love think it's bad. Me no know what them a talk about. When them say think it's mad. When everywhere in the world have problems, everywhere need God. Tell them easy no man. From you love think it's bad. Full time if you big up me own, yeah. Big up me home. Me no want hear nothing about politics. Right you now I leave that alone. And me woman me ice you know. Out with the ital rice you know. By the time come everybody nice you know. You know them one zone. Me no know about you, but me love think it's bad. Me no know what them a talk about. When them say think it's mad. When everywhere in the world have problem, everywhere need God. Tell them easy no man. From your love think it's bad. Come take a look. More food to eat and cook. More places to see than you read in a book. If you're ready for a good time, let the good vibes steal your heart like a cook. But look, don't trouble or you'll get shook. Take it sweet, you'll get hooked. Every other trip that you take won't compare to the Sankage trip that you took. Me no know about you, but me love think it's bad. Me no know what them a talk about. When them say think it's mad. When everywhere in the world have problem, everywhere need God. Tell them easy no man. From your love think it's bad. So much good people to meet. Me hear the word on the street.
Okay, we are back and ready this time. I hate it, I hate when I'm not prepared. It's tend to throw me off. I'm not a very organized person normally, but if I'm not, if my situation is disorganized, then it throws me straight off. So my situation has to be organized because I'm not a very organized person mentally. But I'm so grateful now that you've held it up, you've hold on, and let me tell you, it's something to look forward to. But first, I want to look at the situations that we're faced with in St. Kitts and Nevis, the whole world on a whole. COVID-19 is a reality. We have come to the conclusion that it's so. We don't understand the nature of the virus. It is a reality. The virus is here. People are getting sick. Whatever people's mindset is, everybody has their different opinion of what COVID-19 is, but we know for a fact that it's affected us health-wise and wealth-wise. Our economy has been taking a beating, and in St. Kitts and Nevis, lots of us are spared of some of the hardships because we have to say congratulations and kudos to the government, the powers that be, the people who are in office, the people who are taking care of us and making sure that we are not as hard hit as some other countries are facing at this time. We have to be grateful, and that is one of the areas that I think as a people we have let ourselves down in so many times. We have to be grateful for small matters. It's not the government's fault. It is a situation where these things happen. It's nature, natural disasters, is something that we have no control over. And let us as a people, we have to start working together. I talk about the fact that we have become so creative. We've seen an explosion of talent because of COVID-19, and we are grateful. And this is one of the things that I say that we should be thankful that we have been spared some of the hardships. I don't know how the government is doing it. I am still waiting for that moment when we would have to really buckle down and do things, because I see quotes on Black Friday. It was a swarm of bees. We say people don't have money in St. Kitts and Nevis. Let's start thinking again, because that is not reflected in the activities that are happening around here for this time of year. I was really expecting one of those dull Christmas seasons, but people are still doing what they're doing. It shows how we can cut and contrive, and those are the jargon of our foreparents or grandparents. We have to learn how to cut and make sure that our cloth suits our style. And we have been doing that. And like I said, I want to say thank you to the powers that be, or NEOC. They have done great jobs. And at the helm of this is a woman. here in St. Kitts and in Nevis. In St. Kitts, we have Dr. Laws. She's the CMO. And in Nevis, we have Dr. Nisbet. She is the person in charge, and these are women at the head. And because of them, we are so grateful that things are under control. There's strategies that they have come up with that has basically protected us from a lot of the hardships that other countries are facing. We have controlled the cases that we've had in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we hope that we'll continue to do so. We are asking people to be more responsible and comply to protocols. I myself, I have a problem with the mask, but at the end of the day, when I look, the fact that it's not stopping me from breathing, sometimes I get very anxious when I put it on, but then I don't want to reach the point where I cannot breathe, so therefore I'll make those small adjustments and suffer those small consequences and make sure that I don't spend too much time in town. I spend time where I don't have to wear the mask, and these are the things that we have to do. Social distancing is a must, so if you don't have anything to do in town, please stay at home. Your home is supposed to be your castle. It's a place where you're supposed to be comfortable. So spend a lot more time at home and a little time out in the public. These are some of the advices that we have to take. We have to follow these protocols and make sure that we stop the spread of COVID-19. Okay, with all that said and done, I have lots of anxious moments right now, butterflies in my stomach, because I want to introduce to my show a lady that I've been following for a very short period of time. I've been listening to her, and I've always wanted to have her. As a matter of fact, I've been trying to get Miss Brandy, another one out of Nevis, and I've been trying. I've had Akila Byron here, and it's one of the one of the best interviews that I've had with a woman. I still have goose pimples. She made me cry, got very emotional when I look at a young woman who would have taken up such a big position, a big responsibility of wanting to be the caretaker of constituency number 3. She would have done that, and she would have been very successful. And now we have on the scene, and I have on the line, Dr. Janice Daniel. She has taken up even bigger, for me, it's an anchor. I don't know how she's going to hold on to it, but it's a bigger responsibility of being the leader, first ever female leader of a political party in St. Kitts and Nevis. That would have been my position. I wanted to do so, but now there's an opportunity that is open, and I think I would apply for that position of the leadership of the St. Kitts Labour Party sooner or later, because it's a vacancy, and I'll see if I can apply for it and see whether or not people would accept me. But Mrs. Daniel, good morning. Hodge, I think is the last name. Is it Daniel Hodge?
Good morning, and yes, it is Daniel Hodge.
Okay.
And thank you for the invitation to be on your show today.
Great, and thanks for accepting. I've had sleepless nights because I was really looking forward to doing this. It's one of the excitements that I don't know where it came from, but it's just to see a first time ever woman at the head of a political party here in St. Kitts and Nevis. It's something that I've been asking for. I was wondering whether or not women were not capable, and you've shown that you're not just capable, you're more than capable, and you've taken up that mantle. Are you ready?
Yes. Well, what I would say is that once you follow your passion and you really have a commitment to contribute to the development of your island, to your country, things would just fall in place automatically. It's not that I ever, set out to say that I would want to be the leader of a political party, but things just happened in such a way that I am here now, and I'm more than ready and prepared to contribute and help with the development of my country.
Well, it's not a name that people know very well here in St. Kitts, and I'm not sure, because I'm Nevisian myself. I know that the late Simeon Daniel would have had kids. I've never seen any one of them in politics or close to. You all were all the way in the background. And so when I heard that you were the daughter of the first ever premier of Nevis, I was floored. I was like, never heard of you, what of you, who you were, where you were. But, the fact that, he was the first and now you were first, it's a legacy, it's a trend that you're following. And you know what, the history would have made writings and jottings and information is there about, what happened and how it transpired to where he got and him being the premier of Nevis. And I do hope that history would be as kind to you and that you will continue not just in the legacy of your father, and that one of these days we can say, yes, we have a female premier in Nevis or wherever it would take you. You're already the first leader of a political party. And I'm talking from a woman's point of view. I don't care which party you're in. I just want to know that there are women at the helm, and I am so proud to know that you're there. So your father was the premier of Nevis. You were not featured as a person who aspired to be any politician in the future. Parents normally talk about that. Oh, she has a great love for politics and she would want to be in politics. That information was never given to the general public.
Well, what I would say, is really...
You can call me Sandra. Sandra is good. Yeah.
All right, fine. Thank you. And you know what? Something just popped up on my screen, and before I get into talking about myself, I must take this opportunity to congratulate the Bath United football team.
Wow.
They are the Division 1 champions for the National Football Association. So from right here in Nevis, a lot of good things are happening, and I must say that I think they were deeply inspired. Yesterday was not one of the, a very pleasant day, I would say, for Bath Village and even, the entire island. And so this championship that the Bath United football team would have won, I'm sure would bring a little spark and a little cheer during a time that they are somewhat in a state of sorrow. So congratulations to Nevis' Bath United football champions.
Good. Congratulations to them too.
Yeah.
All right. So let's hear about Janice. I want to know about you.
Yes. So I grew up around my father, yes, and I would have seen a number of sacrifices that he would have had to make because he was passionate really about Nevis, the people of Nevis, and feeling that Nevisians are no less than anyone else, and that certainly we could do more when we work together for the development of our country.
Good.
And so I would have been around him and seen the way that he would try his best to ensure that other persons would be in a better position, try to help people, where he could. And so I grew up with that sort of understanding that it's really not about oneself, but how much you can help those around you. That is what is really going to determine how much of a difference you really make. And so growing up in that type of environment where one must be, determining your own destiny, where no one person is better than the other, understand that there are many different people in different societal levels, and all of these people have a role to play in society. And we must do whatever we can to help ensure that each person, wherever they're comfortable, are enjoying the best life that they can. And right now, I'm seeing where our Nevisian brothers and sisters, they're really struggling. It's a time of hardship brought on by the COVID-19, but I would say magnified because of the situation that we're in right now. And so that's going up with that empathy for others, understanding that if we can help someone else, try to help them the best way that we can. I was really moved. I was really moved when I saw how, our people, our single mothers, for example, would have to travel to St. Kitts to work. Sometimes rainy mornings, have to get their children to school, and then still have to catch a boat to go to St. Kitts. Look at our youngsters who have to travel to St. Kitts to get, higher education. It really got to the core of me, knowing that Nevis was on a path to self-determination where we could really provide for the people of Nevis. And, it just came to me that we cannot sit back and not do anything to help others if we can. And so I am here now to try my best to contribute to changing the government essentially because we are not going through a path of prosperity. I am the leader of the NRP, and our motto has been peace, progress, and prosperity. And I know what it is like when Nevis is on that path because I would have experienced it. And I know definitely that we're not on that path right now. And so it's a matter of sitting back, doing nothing, or trying my best to contribute. And that is what really took me to the leadership position. And a good friend of mine usually say, if you're leading and no one is following, then, you're not really leading. And so I must say that I have the utmost respect for the Nevis Reformation Party. I am the first female leader, but it's the Nevis Reformation Party, as pioneering as it has been and always will be. I would have taken that step and put that confidence in me to help us ensure that Nevis stays on a path or is returned to a path of prosperity.
Okay, I'm Nevisian myself, and I grew up in Nevis. I left at a not young, but at an age where I have had a good understanding of the position that we were in. I know that at one point in time we were heavily dependent on St. Kitts, and that was one of the reasons why lots of us were migrating to St. Kitts because of the issues that you talk about. I mean, we didn't have a steady like we have now. We didn't have a steady boat system, the transportation system where you could go by sea and go back up, early in the morning and come back up at 4 o'clock. Oh yeah, you can leave at 5:30. We get back up at 4 o'clock and stuff like that. But it was so slow and it was so difficult. So divisions had to head to the farm, go to the clay pit where you make clay pots, and we found within ourselves means and ways of surviving because it was tough. I remember the days when we had to walk to school. There was no school buses, and when you're from Castle, because that's where I was from, and you have to go to high school, then you had to depend on the school buses because hardly anybody had their own transportation, and that was the era that we came from, and we saw the progress, and I'm going to talk about Honorable Simeon Daniel because we saw him coming forward, defying all odds, because the thing was that you had to be heavily dependent on St. Kitts. We saw that where we were controlled, we were dictated to, and we were given. And this is how I feel. This is my opinion. We were given the crumbs from the table, basically the fire trucks that never work, the school buses that never work. I mean, those are the things, and that's what I saw when we were growing up. And he came to the rescue, and he stood up and as the premier that he should have been, and he made sure that he trudged and journeyed and took Nevisians, give us a sense of pride and a sense of independence, not wanting to depend. And we fought our way. It was like a battle. It's a story that should be recorded in history of how Nevisians fought ourselves to the positions that we are now in, a position of independence where we try not to be dependent on St. Kitts. And that is one of the things. That was the legacy of the Honorable Simeon Daniel and the Nevis people. And that is something that we want to maintain. And I like your passion. I mean, having the discussion with you, I was touched because then, it's something, and it's somebody I've been looking up, wanting to see who's going to come up with that same kind of passion, that energy of wanting to make sure that Nevis is in a position we are not dependent. We have farmlands that we can look into. We come from that background of livestock raising and farming of our own, not eating the natural foods and stuff. And we want to see that happening again. We have areas of development where we can have our children. We have the Mondo Park that kudos to CCM where they would have brought that in for children to learn about, because that was one of the things, that's something that we always have. Sports, we see, and you can look at the data that comes forward. We have how many West Indian players coming out of Nevis, and unfortunately we haven't seen any coming out of St. Kitts. We have seen that talent that Nevis people have that is second to none. And I like the fact that you said that we are not second, we should not be playing any second fiddle to anybody, because we are just as good or even better. We've seen the talent coming out of Nevis. It's a small island. We've seen people come to our shores. I mean, Princess Diana was there, and we are always in the history books of a place where the stars would come because the peace and the tranquility that they find within the Nevis and the Nevis people, the fact that we are so hospitable, and we see areas that we can use to help to build the economy. And when I spoke to you, I noticed that you saw these things, and it's a part of your in your arsenal that you're going to use as tools if ever you are successful in being the leader of Nevis. And Janice, it's not going to be an easy path, but like I said, I listened to you. I've just listened to your introduction speech. But as a woman, we understand sometimes we are better equipped. And I'm going to say it because people can call me whatever they want to. Men have been very sexist over the years, and this is time for us to assert ourselves as women and show that we are not just as capable, but we are more capable of men than the men who are running our countries. And I think that we can do much better. What do you say?
What I would say is that, speaking with regards to Nevis, I know that Nevis are hard-working people. We're very resilient people. It would seem like we're down for the count, but we're not, because we're always fighting, and that is something that is just in our DNA, so to speak, and the desire to be independent and not having to rely on someone. And so we as divisions, we would work all day and all night just not to have to go and beg someone for something. And, I mean, you said quite a mouthful just now. And I think really the problem that we're having is that things are being done in Nevis, or what is being done, but there's no organized approach. And so you spoke about the farmlands, and you spoke about the Mondo tract. One of the things we have to be able to do is to make the linkages between the different sectors. And so, for example, we speak about tourism. The Mondo tract is there. It was described as one of the best in the region, but then it just sort of fell flat. What is being done in order to be able to develop the Mondo tract to its greatest potential? And those are the things that we would have to look at in terms of what is government doing in order to help to put Nevis in a better position.
Well,
right now where we are, we're looking at issues of massive unemployment. And so in terms of how we provide job opportunities to the people in Nevis, that is something that has to be at the foremost of whatever decision-making we have. And so when we look at sports, when we look at agriculture, I mean, we would have had the horse racing. That was a great pastime for people in Nevis and around the region. That has fallen to shambles. Sometimes we will, say, well, there was a private group dealing with that. But it is the responsibility of government, I think, to ensure that those, whether it's an NGO or small enterprise, to ensure that the environment is accommodating and supportive, so that those businesses can stay in operation and help to employ people as we go along. We speak about agriculture. Back in the day, we looked at, growing, there was coconut, then we started looking at cotton, etc. One of the things that we have to be able to do is to identify the times that we're living in, and times are changing. And so right now, the issue with regards to agriculture is really looking at cannabis. And we see everybody around us taking steps to see how best they can position themselves to take advantage of our natural resources and our natural capabilities. And like I said, we're hardworking, we're resilient. But the opportunity and the environment and the framework has to be put in place by government so that we can capitalize on these different assets that we have. And so I think that is really where the issue is. And what I would say is that once your concern is for the people, once your concern is to try to ensure that people have a payday so that they can pay their mortgages, they can take care of their children, etc., then we would try to explore the different avenues by which we can create employment. It's not so much just about the product, but it's also about the process of getting to that point and what the government can do in order to enable our citizens to be self-supporting.
Okay.
And so those are the things that I look at when I say that we definitely need to look at a different approach to the development of Nevis if we want to return to our days of prosperity.
And if we start looking at the approach, let's look at what we are seeing now, and it's in the whole politics on the whole. We see a division of there's always that big gap between, you have opposing parties and you have leading parties. My thing is, and I've always looked at politics from this point of view, and if I would be successful in becoming the leader of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, these are the things that I would look into. It might sound like a joke, but it's very serious. We have a government that is doing well. I'm just talking, hypothetically. We have a government that is doing well. The people feel sometimes it's time for a change because we feel like we are stagnant and we're not going forward as fast, propelling as fast as we should. Because that's what people look for, progress. And sometimes the government, they become bankrupt of ideas. And you have the opposition who feel like they can do differently, do better. So I've always asked, if you feel like you can do better, your approach is different now because you're saying that you're going to look at politics in a different, from a different point of view. You feel like you can do better. You have ideas right now. Would you ever sit down with the now premier? Would we ever see in the future where CCM and NRP can sit together and for the good of Nevis people can come up with ideas to see how we can dig us out of that rut that you say that we found ourselves in? I mean, we see now the dependency, and we want to know whether or not you, coming in as a woman, would come together right now and sit with the CCM, if given the opportunity, and talk about how we can propel Nevis forward in these trying times.
What I would say, I would not be averse to having a conversation, but we really need to look at the principles upon which both parties operate. Mm-hmm. The Nevis Reformation Party is a party that is inclusive. It looks at the welfare of the people, and it really puts all of the people at the core of its decision. We try to be inclusive, we're innovative as a party, looking at our history. The concern would be really look at, for example, the advances that were made by the Nevis Reformation Party with regards to geothermal energy, and that was squandered by the system government. Look at the advances that were made with regards to development. Look at, for example, the entire development of the Charlestown waterfront. One project, a fisheries project, would have ensured that the area that is used by the fishers would have been stabilized, supported with the necessary infrastructure. That project was put aside by CCM. We even look at the Four Seasons resort that was brought here, not for any self-serving purpose, but to create employment opportunities for the people of Nevis. And the dismay of so many divisions when, because of COVID-19, Four Seasons resort had to take some decisions for the benefit of their operations, I would say. And the existing government did nothing to represent the workers who would be losing their jobs. They just accepted the position that was taken by Four Seasons. And so I would say philosophically, we are really two different paths. And so, of course, the NRP, we continue in opposition and out of government to provide support to the people of Nevis. And that is something that we are, grounded in. That is what we were founded upon. Those are the principles upon which we were founded. And those are our principles. What we're doing right now, it's more a sort of, fashionista kind of government based on who likes what for personality and charisma and those sorts of things. But we are seeing that is not taking us to where our children can have a future to look forward to in Nevis. I mean, great articulation and great presentation of ideas, but the implementation of those ideas is another problem that we have to deal with. And so philosophically, I really think that NRP and the government that exists right now, we're not really on the same page. We have different areas of focus. We have different priorities. And so I do not see necessarily where we can come together. We are for the people. We want to ensure that the people have a better quality of life. And I think the existing government really is looking at self-development, personal development, and maybe a select few in the communities. And so, this is not back in 1980 and 1990 when the Four Seasons Resort and the Nevis financial services sector were born out of brain work and people networking and sitting down and trying to figure out how best to develop Nevis. We are now in an era that we would call, this is a global village. We have access to internet. We have access to Google. People travel all over the world in different capacities. And, if the intent and the focus is really on developing the people of the country, then I'm sure we would have seen a number of different initiatives that would benefit the people. But back in the day when we didn't have access to all of this information at our fingertips, so it's not that the information is not there. I think it's what drives the person or the people or the government that has to make the decisions, and that determines what type of decisions are made, what is being prioritized. When you look at the type of legislation that is being put forward, you're not seeing anything that could really enhance or embrace or even be appealing to investors who would want to come into Nevis and develop. And I speak about Nevis. Some persons feel that when I say Nevis and country, of course it's Nevis benefits. Thinkit benefits as well. Right now, Nevis is dependent on Thinkit for its maintenance, for its upkeep. If Nevis can develop itself in such a way where it doesn't have to have such heavy reliance on the purpose of Thinkit, then we would be able to advance and provide a better quality of life in Nevis. And I hasten to add, yes, the federal government has responsibilities to certain aspects in the development of Nevis. But if we have access to those resources and we are able to provide for ourselves, just imagine what life on Nevis would be for Nevisians and persons living in Nevis. And so that is where I find that there is a division in terms of what is our focus and what is the area that we really want to be able to develop and the reason, the purpose. The purpose of doing something determines what sort of decisions you would make. And we have to really ensure that with NRP, it has been, always has been, the welfare of our people. NRP was born out of seeing our people struggle, and we're at that point where we're struggling again. It's not from a Christina disaster, but we're looking at COVID-19 and poor governance, and that is what really would stir up the passion in a lot of people, excuse me, to try to ensure that we do not sit back and wait until Nevis is lost for our children and for our future development.
Well, in all fairness, though, I'm glad that you can talk about this because you are a newcomer. And that's one of the things that I've seen over the years where every time a government is not in opposition, they tend to, they're in a very good position to criticize the government the government. When a party find themselves in opposition, they're in a position to criticize the government. And when they're in office, basically, you see it's just a switching of the players, but the game basically remained the same. Divisions would have said otherwise to what you have just said because we've just had an election and they voted overwhelmingly for the CCM party. So I suppose one would deduce from that Divisions were not comfortable with the NRP government the same way, and they would have made a choice, and they would have done that in the NIA and at the federal level. So this is where you look at your climb and realize that you're really trudging at this time up the steep hill. It's a steep hill. when you look at the overwhelming decisions that the Nevis people would have made at the poll, and you now, as a newcomer, is this something that has not been said? What is the narrative then? Why did the people of Nevis voted so overwhelmingly for CCM in the last federal election, and would have given you? I think you would have had one seat in the NIA. Why has NRP found themselves in that situation where they're too far in the back? Can you really make those serious strides to find yourself in a position where you can lead Nevis again into a prosperity that you said that is seriously lacking in Nevis?
Yeah, so that's a very it's a fair question because, like I would have said, it's easy to talk, and then and we see the others do it quite well, and I think that's why they were returned to government, because they can talk really well, but when it comes to delivering and implementing, we're not seeing that. And people will say, I take a chance, okay, I'll give them another chance, and we try again to see what can be done. But how many chances can we take? And where we are right now with the development of Nevis and what we want to be able to see, we have to be true to ourselves. Mm-hmm. Many of our supporters, many NRP supporters, would have felt that, they were not given a viable option. They did not have an option that was giving them the hope that they were looking for. And that is where I feel that we really have to be more aggressive in terms of getting our message out so that people can understand. Now, when we look at, for example, when we had the financial crisis, global financial crisis at that, and the economy needed started to take a downturn, we will recall that NRP was in government at that time, and understanding that people were hurting, people, the tourism sector was not as vibrant as it used to be. NRP government took the position that it would create opportunities for employment. And the type of opportunities that were created, for example, one that really comes to mind, was the development of community centers, the development of the NEPAC, Nevis Performing Arts Center. These weren't development activities just because they had to be done at that particular time, but they were done in order to create job opportunities. Not only did they create job opportunities at the time, but they now add to the landscape of Nevis. And these are developments that are still being used. And so when you compare that to what has been done over the last couple of years, with more money coming from the federal government than has ever been done before, you're not seeing anything that really contributes to the development of Nevis. The community centers are now used for social networking. They're now used to help children with after-school work, etc., community activities, community building, etc. And so they play a very critical role in the Nevis landscape. When we look at what is being done recently, I mean, we can point to roads, etc. But how does that? It helps. But when you look at the amount of money that was coming in and nothing that was put into a sustainability type development, then you have issues. So we look at the financial crisis, and we see what NRP did at the time, and how many people benefited at that time and continue to benefit up to this day. Right now we're in a different era. Right now we're looking at the COVID-19 pandemic. We're looking at environmental, climate change crisis, and we're also in the digital era. So when we have access to funds, and I hasten to add, if we're only operating based on the contribution from the federal government to pay civil servants, how can we expect to expand and explore and develop new initiatives on the island of Nevis? It requires work by the government and an understanding of why we are working. We're working for the people. And so at this point in time, we know we're in a digital era. We know that COVID-19 is a big issue. And so one of the issues that I think we really need to look at is the availability of health care on the island. And when we look at other islands, because, we have internet, and we could look at what other islands are doing. And when you see, you develop clinics, polyclinics that you can develop in different communities so you can enhance the access to health care. Taking an initiative like that would create employment for persons who are not working right now. But it's also because we're in a COVID-19 era and we're based on tourism, the more that you can have health facilities accessible to residents as well as visitors, then it will put us in a much better position to appeal to the tourism market and also to prospective investors. When we look at what we're having to do now in the education system with our school children, and when we look at our secondary education and tertiary education, why not look at investing in opportunities to improve our telecommunications? Everything now is digital. We're looking at internet, Wi-Fi. I was on a show the other night, and the internet fell so many times because it's not reliable, it's not sustainable. We're now in a digital era. So the focus back in the day when my father was in government, when he looked at tourism and financial services and offshore services, that was great for the time. But it's unfortunate that those are still the same pillars that we in the 21st century, and we have not expanded on any of those. And so I would show what NRC would have done when they were in power, when we had a financial crisis. It is not the same as the COVID-19 pandemic, but it shows the action that the NRC took in order to ensure that the citizens did not just have to sit home and think that they're special and have to wait on people to provide for them, etc. We must put the necessary legislation in place so that we can appeal to the economy. If we look here at Antigua and Barbuda, they have implemented a digital residency option. In Barbados, they have implemented what is called a welcome stamp option. And that is in direct response to COVID-19 and how you can position yourself favorably to appeal to persons who would want to travel, whether it's during the winter, etc., or whether they want to be able to get away from the COVID-19 pandemic. They're positioning themselves so that they can attract and be appealing to persons. But if we do not have reliable Wi-Fi, and if we do not have access to health care, etc., then we're not going to be as appealing. And I say these things because I know that the NIA was established in order to give the government of Nevis autonomy over certain matters so that it can be self-reliant. And we are not exploiting, we are not exploring those options that we have. And so even if the NIA, even if NRC has to take a loan to create employment opportunities for its citizens so that they can then support the supermarkets and take care of their children, etc., that's a loan well taken. But when you compare the purpose, like I keep saying, and the reason why certain decisions are taken, you're not really seeing where the people are benefiting.
Well,
on the island as a whole.
One of the areas that I must say, because you're running out of time, so it's unfortunate, I think I'll have you back again. But one of the areas, and I'm going to say from my point of view, from my viewpoint, is that Nevis economy needs a lot of work. We have to come up with ideas that are going to be, because we want to put all sorts of things in place, but in order to do so, we need to get money. You're going to find yourself in a similar situation where you're heavily dependent on the federal government again. If Nevis doesn't get its act together, meaning that Nevisians, we are second to none. You said it earlier in your speech. We are a resilient people, and for me, that is the basis. That is the strength from which we can build, because we know that Nivisians want to find themselves as independent people. This is what we were fighting for over the years. We want to be able to depend on ourselves. We want to make sure we have an economy that is strong enough to sustain all of our intentions and to create a future that is bright for all of our children and our grandchildren. That has always been the fight of Nevis people, and our plight has always been that of dependency on St. Kitts. We need to get rid of that. If St. Kitts have ideas, then I think if we are going to come together, then we need to take some of the ideas and make sure it is part of what we use, our foundation to push or propel ourselves forward. These are the things that I'm looking forward to hear from people who are aspiring to be politicians in Nevis and who are trying to take Nevis in a different direction. It's a pity, I've always been interested in politics. I do not want to be a politician, because something about politicians, they always have good intentions, but when they get in, it's about personal gains and friends and families. But things like that you look at, and it poses a problem. We need people who are genuinely interested in the people of Nevis. And having a discussion with you, I found that. I mean, I heard the passion that you had, the intentions that you have, but you have to start first looking at how we can boost our economy, making it vibrant enough and stable enough so that we can achieve all of these goals that we have set for Nivisians. Nivisians we need to become the people that we have always strived to be. I find it's taking too long a time, and I do hope, Mrs. Hodge, that your father's legacy would be something of information and basically a learning curve for you, and that you can once again look at where Nevis is and where we can go. And like I said, if Premier Brandley has good intentions and good ideas, and NRP has good intentions and good ideas, at this point in time, I feel an opposition, not because you're in opposition, we are still interested in the people of Nevis and people of St. Kitts. And while in opposition and you have good ideas, you can come around the red table like Jada and Will, and talk about the things that you think that can help Nevis. But you see, one of the things that I find is ego. People always want to get the praise. It's not about me getting the praise. It's about the people of Nevis benefiting in the way that we and you guys as politicians say that you want Nevis people to benefit. And as a woman, I would want to put myself in a position where, if it's for the benefit and the good of Nevis people, I am willing, ready, and able to see how we can put Nevis in a different direction, one of dependency into independency. We need to become independent. We need to, and that is why you said that, why NIA came out, it was for that purpose, where you should have the autonomy over making certain decisions for the Nevis people. And I wish we can get that done in the very near future.
That is my desire as well. I agree that once we have ideas that is better for the benefit of people, it's not a matter for, like I said before, it's not a lack of ideas. It's just a matter of know-how, purpose. What are your purposes for taking certain decisions? And that's where I think there is a divide. And so we have the Nevis Reformation Party has demonstrated over the years, whenever they were in power or in government, their capability, their understanding, and it's not just talking the ideas, but actually implementing. And when you look across the landscape of Nevis, it is there for everyone to see.
But
yes.
let's look at you now, because like I said, the people would have voted for against you in the last election. Nevis, the NRP. Now you are a different person, different ideas. We saw that. I mean, people have been complaining about for me, it's just you saw that laid back type of attitude, that lack of energy that NRP was bringing to the table, that chaotic kind of, I'm being, out there and upfront, that kind of chaos that was there. We see now that you're coming as a person who have recognized the chaos that Nevis people don't want, and that is one of the reasons why they voted for the CCM party overwhelmingly. We want to know that, the difference that you are going to bring to Nevis. I see you have another lady in Brandy, William Brandy, and as two women, two strong women, I have to say strong because you look at Nevis right now and the NRP party, that the position that they're in, and you decide to take on that, and it has to be that there's some inner strength that people are not seeing. I mean, people are feeling it now because I've heard the talk is back up. NRP is part of the discussion now, so people are seeing and maybe feeling that this can be, hope that we have new hands, new ideas, new personalities, new different directions, and different intentions, and the hope is that you and Miss Brandy and your other group of people coming together to make Nevis great again, if I should use Trump's term.
Certainly. I mean, one of the things that I believe very strongly in is embracing diversity, sharing ideas, and understanding what we want the outcome to be. And so while I would speak about the philosophical differences in action, because, on paper, it may seem that, both political parties in Nevis are aspiring and striving for the same thing. But when you get on the ground and you look at the action, you would realize that there was a part, really. And so definitely no one person has all the ideas, no one party has all the ideas. I think I would have pointed out the way that NRP would have put certain things in place to help the development of Nevis. But unfortunately, the government in position right now did not see its benefit to advance those initiatives for the benefit of the Nevis people. And so where NRP is at this point in time, where we are heading, I must say that people have asked for change in the NRP on a number of different levels. We are delivering those changes. We are organizing ourselves. We are putting ourselves in a much better position. And as I would have indicated, one of the concerns was that people just did not feel that NRP was positioned to bring about the change that they wanted to see. So the changes that we're making within the party is in response to a lot of those concerns that were expressed. And also, I must say that what has been expressed to me is the fact that people have a lot of faith in the direction in which the NRP is heading, because one of the concerns that the population or the populace will have is with regards to the transparency and the procurement of goods and services, and why you can only have one or two small communities or small groups of people benefited. And for lack of putting it in any better way, as a woman leader, the types of actions that male leaders would have taken over the years are not necessarily aligned with the perspective and the viewpoint of women leaders. Women leaders, we are known to be nurturing, we're known to understand and to be empathetic, and also known to do what has to be done and to work with what we have in order to get things done. And so it's going to be a different perspective, a different approach. And if we're really serious about making changes and being responsive in the 21st century and all of the different challenges that we're dealing with, then I would say as a woman, women are generally more, better positioned to deal with challenges and how to respond to the ever-changing environment that we find ourselves operating in. And so I think, the change there's a lot of change, but it's not just change for the sake of change. It's change with a purpose. It's change with a direction. And I'm quite, it's a challenge, but I'm quite fortunate that I was given the opportunity to come in and try to assist with providing a best position for the people of Nevis, or a better position to ensure that we can provide and ensure that Nevis is in a better position going forward.
Dr. Hodge, it was a pleasure. We are out of time. I'm definitely going to keep in contact with you, and it's from a woman's point of view. I think I'm going to have the Hazel Brandy. I've been trying I need a number that I need to call her to, it's just to see where women are being positioned. You have Miss Clark from the Labour, she's a senator on the opposition bench, and these are people that I really want to have discussions with. We brought it from a political standpoint. We talk about what NRP is going to do for Nevis. So in all fairness, I think I would try to see if I can contact the Honourable Mark Brantley and see if he can come in and dispute or defend himself as the Premier of Nevis and, share his views through on your views, because in all fairness, you had your say, and I think he should have his way in the political from the political standpoint. It was for looking at as a woman in politics, a woman in leadership role. That was the standpoint from which we would have had this discussion. And I like the fact that, you would have come out and said, you couldn't not have said what your plans are, your intentions are for Nevis, because that is really one of the reasons why you're in that position, is because of the fact that people think that you're capable of bringing Nevis out of a situation that it's the perception of the Nevis people of Nevisians that, we need a different approach. We need people who are the hands that rock the cradle, people who have a good understanding of what it is to nurture, what it means to nurture and to bring up. And the focus has to change. It has to change. It can't be the same as it was then. But like I said, we're out of time, and I definitely want to talk to you again. And I would love to have you back on my show. You are inspiring me to become more of a participant and not an observer, because I've been observing all of my life, being afraid to take that step. Maybe you can encourage me to do so. We need that kind of strength that was going to change the entire landscape of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Well, thank you so much. And what I would say, we'll take it one step at a time. And so you provide as much support as you can to us at this point in time, and we provide as much support as we can to you as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming. And it's a pity that we couldn't get people to call in, because you see, our fast time would have run out again. But next time we come, we'll have an open mic where people can ask questions, as we have an understanding of what the Nevis people feel, or people in St. Kitts, because we are a federation. We can't separate Nevis from St. Kitts, but Nevis has to become a little more independent, and St. Kitts, because that's what we have. We have a federal government, and you have a Nevis Island administration that looks after the Nevis people, and Nevis needs first and foremost. You are just playing a supportive role in the federation, trying to make sure when you're in Parliament you can get what Nevis wants. And I think that was one of the ideas, that Nevis you can have that kind of representation in Parliament, demanding and bringing to Parliament what Nevis people want. I think that's what we're looking for. But that should not stop Nevis from being the independent island that it is, because Nevis is Nevis and St. Kitts is St. Kitts. Not because we're a federation, we still have our own independence. I think that's where it's at. Mrs. Dr. Hodge, I'm so sorry I've been saying that for the longest while, but Dr. Hodge, I really appreciate the fact that you would have come on this program, and I look forward to doing programs like this in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, and I look forward to it as well.
Thank you very much. Nevis people will be very proud. You have Nevis, you have people that are coming forward. That's a good thing. You don't have to dig deep, because they're right there. I must apologize for for Voices. The people who are coming on next, I would have really infringed on their time, but sometimes you have programs that you want information to come out. We really didn't get enough coming out, and that's why I'm going to do a follow-up program, in all fairness. But I want to thank the host of Voices program for allowing me this time, so that I can infringe on their time, and hope that I won't have to do it again in the future. But my name is Sandra Quiliatis, and it was a pleasure. The weekend is here. Christmas is just around the corner. Let us shop, but take into consideration that COVID-19 is still real, and so we have to always make sure that money management is first and foremost. It's not just for today, it's not just for Christmas, but we have a life ahead of us. 2021 is coming. We didn't know what was going to happen in 2020. We saw hardships coming out of 2020, and we now have to start rebuild again, so that we can be properly prepared for 2021. But enjoy the rest of the weekend. It's there to be enjoyed. I think it's a beautiful place to be, and I do hope that we can just be tourists in our shores, and making sure that St. Kitts can provide that haven, that hope, that security for all of us. Enjoy the weekend, and I look forward to doing this again next week, Friday.